Hey, check this out. I wanted to ask you, is Trump going to do anything about the stratospheric aerosol injections?
Write that down.
What, do you think Trump wants to stop that?
I'm going to write it down.
Listen, Alex, is Trump going to do anything about that? That program to stop global warming?
Something about it.
Well, what do you think the program is, Eddie?
The director of the CIA is talking about it on YouTube. Look under John O'Brien.
I've seen it. They talk about strategies.
Aerosol injections. It's going to cost $10 billion a year, and there's going to be some countries opposed to it because it's going to mess up the weather.
Are you telling me about atmospheric manipulation? There is an entire atmospheric terraforming, geoengineering manipulation. They don't call it chemtrails. And of course, the CIA director admitted they have this huge program. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation owns the major patents on it from Westinghouse and others. They use these big antennas to manipulate the weather. It's all declassified.
Do you think HAARP manipulates the weather?
They admit it does. I used to have the head of HAARP, General Bitten K. Parton, on all the time. There's giant weather modification systems, and there's weather wars between different governments. You want the real stuff, I'll tell you.
Yeah, sure.
I got contacted about 10 years ago, and they said the head of the HAARP project really likes your work. He'd like to come on, the interview's online, and he'd like to come on and tell everybody. And about 30 minutes in, a colonel came on the line and said sorry during a break and cut the guy off.
Wow. Dum, dum, dum.
I mean, this really happens.
Cue spooky music.
Cue spooky music.
Do you think Trump is going to look into the SIA project that the CIA has greenlit?
He is starting out with vaccines, as I told people he would do, investigating all the damage they've caused.
Ultimately, ultimately, that's good too. Start the vaccines, get that shit together too, for sure. But what about the SAI programs that the CIA has greenlit? You think he's going to get into that?
Yeah, I think it's next level. Soon we won't even communicate with these microphones. The internet's just going to be like...
Here's the problem with all this SIA shit. Most of what you see when you see those jets flying around, those clouds behind them, most of that is just a jet engine. Exactly. The jet engine.
And everybody confuses that with the real program.
What's the real program?
Well, here's the thing. You're right, and so is Joe, because the world's complex. There are secret and quasi-secret and public programs to test manipulation of the weather and weather systems. The Arabs are doing it. The Chinese are doing it. The Russians are doing it. Okay, I had Ben Livingston, the head of the U.S. weather weapon program for 27 years on my show first, because I saw it was declassified. I saw that he was in the Panhandle of Texas. I called him running a major cloud seeding company with his son and got the 90-year-old to Austin. And then after that, he totally freaked out because the CIA came to his house. Do you want the interviews on YouTube? Do you want to know what he said?
Yes.
All right, he was a World War II fighter pilot. And at the end of World War II, he flew the first planes into hurricanes, which are in the Atlantic, and into typhoons that are even faster in the Pacific. He also led squadrons in Vietnam, flooding everything up to 10 feet of water out of clear blue skies within hours.
What a badass!
With their chemicals. So we're sitting there, and he gives me all this data, and I can't believe it. He's giving me all these classified photos and stuff because they just declassified the file. And no one thought to call the old man from Lubbock or whatever it was.
Right.
So I call him, I get him on. They sent a bunch of people to their company and threatened them the next week after I heard it. And he laid it out. He said, in 1967, we certified at the Stanford Research Institute that he was able to control hurricanes, create hurricanes, and steer hurricanes. All that got black budgeted, shut down, and then they got into these arrays where they could use antennas. And out of that, in Westinghouse, came the whole HAARP program. So in the 60s, they could create, control, and steer or kill hurricanes. That's why you Google now, Bill and Melinda Gates bought all those patents, and, quote, Bill Gates is going to save the world from bad weather. Bill Gates wants to stop hurricanes. Google it. Bill Gates owns the weather machines.
Let me pause for a second. How do they manipulate a hurricane?
With aerial arrays projecting into the sky, they can break it up or strengthen it or kill it or steer it. Because it's all computerized.
And they're doing that with HAARP?
They've got HAARP bases all over the place. They call them Doppler radar facilities. Oh, the government wants your local city to have Doppler radar.
I thought that was like so you could have the guy in front of the screen.
But that's at like 1/10 of 1%. They can crank those arrays up that have massive. Your lights might go out when they do it a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, because they'll use the whole power of your town through the Doppler radars, and then they control it. The U.S. has a giant weather weapon hidden in front of everybody in every town and city, and poor Russians and Chinese are just discovering it all. The U.S. has weather weapons that can knock them all out right now.
Can Bill Gates control the weather?
They're coming out saying, "Hey, there's going to be some countries that aren't going to be for it, and we got to figure out how we're going to deal with them." Because
do you want me to give the audience the big secret?
Finish the SAI program.
Well, he doesn't know about this.
I know about it, but it's like a minor deal.
What do you know about the SAI program?
Most of the real programs are just like fronts for something else. It's not even real.
So you don't think they're spraying shit into the atmosphere?
No, there is a program for geoengineering.
There's a program in place, and you said it's the Doppler radar system and HARP and what else?
And aerial spraying still the most effective.
When you say aerial spraying, what are they spraying?
Barium salts, aluminum dioxide, radioactive isotopes.
They're spraying them in the air?
Yeah,
why are they doing that?
And it does a bunch of things. They're testing a bunch of stuff. They're manipulating things.
Why do you have evidence that they're doing this and spraying aluminum and barium, whatever it is?
You can go online and read the Department of Energy. It's all public. You can go to the departmentofernergy.gov.
Right.
And you can watch CFR, the CIA director at the time, Brennan, admitting all this. This is all public.
Yeah, he admitted it. He talked about it.
I saw the video. We can play the video and go over it if you want.
The array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change.
But he's talking about various options for controlling global warming.
Yeah.
They're laying out the future.
Stratospheric Aerosol Injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do.
If global warming is real, and we know it is, right? Don't you think they would
don't
have...
believe that.
You don't believe global warming's real?
I think
so
it's a
when they
scam.
keep measuring these temperatures and scientists keep saying that
they
this
got
is the
caught
hottest
faking
year on
the
record.
temperatures.
Okay.
That came out in hacked emails.
Well, let's find out what
Joe,
the most
I believe
recent
global
thing
warming's
is. 'Cause
real.
there was
I believe it's real.
Okay.
I believe that it goes high, it goes cold. There's
Right.
always micro temperatures.
There
and
is always a
microclimates.
big change. There's shifts throughout
Change is
time.
the only thing that ever
Right.
happens.
That's I
but
think we all
paying
agree on
carbon
that.
taxes to Al Gore won't fix it.
Okay, I think we all
with
agree
that.
that
I'm
there's
with that.
shifts. But what I'm saying is there absolutely is global warming, right?
There has been a warming period, but that's part of a normal global cycle based on the sun. All these astrophysicists are sure. The whole thing about claiming it's the carbon we put out, the Earth is carbon starved. There's a carbon cycle. That's the big story I want to get to, that the globalists want to tax. If they can tax oxygen, carbon dioxide, water, or sunlight, they have total control over the whole life cycle of the planet. Everybody debates how many programs there are, all the specifics. A lot of that's classified. You can Google China launches major weather control operations 10 years ago.
Right.
Or Qatar does it, or Saudi Arabia, or the UK, or
For
EU.
sure, people have studied it. Right?
They call it study. Hell, in 2005, the Department of Energy program for aerosol testing was $5 million a year. So under U.S. Code Title 50, Chapter 32, subsection 1528, paragraph B.
Is that true? You nailed that right there?
Yes.
What are you, from Mars?
Under U.S. Code Title...
Do you live on that obelisk?
That was fucking insane. This motherfucker.
Listen, under U.S. Code Title 50, Chapter 32,
Okay,
subsection
Rain Man.
1528, paragraph B.
That's
Find
insane.
that shit.
That's insane.
No, but-
Restrictions on use of human subjects for testing of chemtrails or biological agents.
All right. Now, what they do in this is they say it's illegal to test unless it's for research. Then you're
everything's
allowed
for
to even
research.
kill people if it's for research purposes.
Do you know that's how some of those Japanese whaler vessels get away with killing whales still? They say it's for research purposes.
Exactly.
And they kill the whales and sell them. It's some dark shit.
Yeah, no, the
Scam.
elites
Everything's a scam, dude.
are the
It's a
mad
scam.
scientists,
Everything.
engineers. I'm going to give you the big secret, man. If you want
Yes,
it.
I do.
I'm not kidding around.
I know I'm not either.
The thing is, it's
Ever.
they're the high priests. They're scientists.
Right.
They're engineers. They're allowed to kill people, test stuff on kids, inject black people with syphilis, all the declassified
Right.
stuff, because they are scientists. All the real executioners, torturers, or most of them, or people making decisions, are doctors. And so it's all medical doctor stuff in this big breakaway civilization of scientists.
Okay.
And so that's what they've built. And under research provisions, they can even kill anybody they want.
I've taken a lot of heat over the years, a lot of heat for chemtrails. To finally get you in front of Joe Rogan's audience, I wanted to clear up the whole chemtrail thing because you're...
Well, let's do that. Let's do that. No one calls it chemtrails in the real world. I call it chemtrails. There is manipulation of the weather. It's mainstream news. And the media always picks it up and says, I'm crazy. It's on the Weather Channel that there are secret programs. It's just so secret we don't know the details. Then other people think every condensation trail is an actual chemtrail when they're crystal trails. But NASA admits the Earth's 30% darker. You can Google chemtrails from space. It shows the NASA photos. It's changing our atmosphere, and they are adding chemicals to the jet fuel at the industrial level. Go ahead. And I hope Trump, in fact, next time I talk to him, I keep forgetting when I talk to him, I'm going to ask him to look into geospatial manipulation of the
Well, they're
weather.
calling it a stratospheric aerosol injection.
Yes.
You even said this for years. Eventually, they're going to come out and say that, yes, they are spraying the atmosphere with metallic particles, but it's to save us, to save for global warming, to save the planet. And that's exactly what John O'Brien did. He got in front of the CFR and he said, yeah, we're going to start spraying the atmosphere with stratospheric aerosol injections.
Bill Gates called for this. Bill Gates is getting government money to then run the program.
Yeah.
They're running programs to control hurricanes. It's all in like Nature and Science magazine. But then they go on the news and say, Alex says Obama sent tornadoes to Oklahoma. No, I didn't. A lot of people, and I'm not kidding, since Trump got in, notice there's less of the chemtrails. And that's why Trump said we have advanced technology. We can pretty much cure stuff now. I want to roll this out to you. That's why the elites are really mad, because the word is, even though I haven't brought this up to Trump, I need to, is that Trump's killing all these programs.
What is the difference between legit contrails and the ones that last all day and completely cover the sky?
Okay, turns out people think of jet fuel as really volatile. It's not. Gasoline's like 3 times more volatile, more explosive, burns hotter, you name it. Jet fuel actually is like kerosene. And so kerosene, I don't recommend this, but you can put it on your hand, light it, and it doesn't burn you for a while. That's what they kind of use like in a lot of the Hollywood sets and things. So you can add a lot of things to kerosene, and they add barium salts, aluminum dioxide, and also some radioactive isotopes. There's only 3 big major makers of jet fuel in the United States. There's some sub ones as well. And they just, under a national security directive that's secret, but the patents are there, the directive is known, but the details are classified, they add this to the mix in a government program. They're paid to do it. And then they use the jet engines. There's like over 20 patents on this. You can Google it. To use jet engines to then aerosolize for cloud seeding. And they claim that they're shielding the Earth from the sun because we've lost our atmosphere. But then you actually look what the scientists are doing. It's actually hurting the planet, actually keeping heat in, the opposite. So it's like they're trying to create global warming, actually. Again, the ultraviolet radiation goes through the clouds. The other good sun gets blocked and bounces back out. So they're trying to heat the Earth up in a big, giant secret experiment.
Let's talk
let me
about-
get back to this.
We're not talking about the weather, Eddie.
Okay.
I'll tell you that right now.
Let me tell you right
We're
now.
done with
Yeah,
that.
let me tell you right now.
Fuck clouds.
Let me tell you. I'm trying to break this down. The whole
Hashtag
thing
fuck
is being
clouds.
set up to control.